Wait. Hello, hello. Oh, perfect, this works. Hi, everyone. My name's Cam Thompson, and I'm a Web3 reporter at CoinDesk. So I'm really excited about this panel today because user experience in gaming, there's kind of an elephant in the room, and it's that, we've yet to see a truly seamless, enjoyable user experience that can not only onboard people, but also be interoperable. And these are all things that we're working towards in building Web3 gaming. And we're going to talk about what this vision is and how we're going to get there. So I'm really excited. I'm joined by a group of experts on stage. Can we all go down the line and introduce ourselves, say a little bit about who we are, what we're building, and our favorite Web2 game that we'd like to see a Web3 version of? So Andy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for having me up here. My name's Andy, aka Andy.eth, if you want to be degen about it. I'm the head of business development for Stardust, Stardust being blockchain infrastructure for game studios. As far as the Web 2 game I would like to see be Web 3, I would say like the most popular game that has a very robust cosmetics market, so like a CSGO or a Fortnite would be amazing. I think we'd see like 10, 100x axi, overall volume very quickly, built on like a fundamental, sustainable kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, model, right? So nothing would happen except for just for the game, but it would be really, really cool to watch people be like, holy crap, this is what we can see, we're all building for right away.
Pi. Nice. Hey, everybody. I'm Pi. Nice. I hope everyone's doing well. But yeah, I am co-founder and digital director at Kingdom Studios. We build DeFi kingdoms. And let's see, Web 2 game I would like to see be Web 3. I would say I'm going to share two games, and one is Animal Crossing. I would like a relaxing game to be a Web 3 game. And then I also would like some sort of MMORPG like Final Fantasy XIV. I think a lot of building your character and collecting and having different classes and all of that will be really, really cool in a Web 3 game.
Hi everyone, my name is Javier. I'm developer relations at Gelato. We offer infrastructure for Web3 apps, and in particular in blockchain gaming, we offer in automation in action games or gasless experience. When we talk about which games from the Web2 space I would like to see in the Web3, I have to go back to the prehistory of gaming. Actually, I'm talking about late 80s or beginning of 90s, where probably no one of you were already on this wall. But at that time, there were some games called Sierra games. They were adventure games. And we have the Leisure Suit Larry, or Space Quest, or Police Quest. And actually, that was, if we talk about user experience, I still remember the first time I have a wow effect playing the Police Quest, because every time we went to stop a car, the driver went out and he shoot us, and we actually have to stop the game. But we realized that we could interact, putting things, words, in some kind of bubble. And then we say, hands up. And then the driver went out, hands up, and we could continue the game. We thought that we were already interacting with AI, but actually it was hard-coded somewhere in the game. But that was my first user experience. And although the graphics were really creepy, we loved this user experience, and all of our friends that was prior internet broad adoption, we were spending hours. Then I think, coming back to the topic of the panel, the user experience should be the first principle in designing gaming.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's just jump into it. In breaking down current Web3 gaming ecosystems, what makes a good Web3 game, and what are some examples we've seen of successful games in terms of some of the principles? And I'll open it up to anyone to start.
I'll start. So what makes a good Web3 game, I think previously has been stuff kind of more based on the financial side of things, and I won't really get into that. I think what's going to be a good game will be more based on just what makes a good game. It's got to be fun. In the gaming industry, there's a term called fast to fun, or sorry, time to fun, and the faster that is, the better. So what we'll see, I think, or what I see being a good Web3 game will be just, is it a broadly appealing game? People can come in and play it, but then is there a nice kind of really deep and well thought out, like nougaty center of Web3, where the degens or just like Web3 natives can come in and like really sink their teeth into it. But meanwhile, all the the churn of just casual players are still enjoying the game. It's being talked about. It's successful. It's monetizing those players. But there's kind of like a funnel to the bottom of really deep Web3 content that you can really kind of play with and do all sorts of wacky stuff with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think when you get into the deep nougaty center, you want the game to be very sticky. You want to have really good gameplay. But when we get into the Web3 aspect of things, we want it to be, we want our characters to be NFTs. We want things to be, like game items to be tokenized and have an economy within the game. And I think when that is really well thought out and there's really good tokenomics, then that just brings things to the next level of what games can actually really be in Web3.
I think like in gaming, like in life, you want to have the impression that you are learning, that you are growing with the game. And actually the Web3 gives you the unique experience that all of the steps that you grow within the game are stored in the blockchain in the way that an NFT that can grow with you. And this is kind of experience is something that's very unique in the Web3 space. And if we think about games currently in the Web3, I don't know Kingdom. I heard a lot, but I haven't yet have the opportunity to play a bit with them. But Set Run is a digital horse racing, or Planet AX are examples of very, very good UX experience with this ability to grow in with the game.
Absolutely. So Javier and also Pai, you were both talking about tokenomics, NFTs, a lot of different Web3 elements in gaming ecosystems. And it's hard to execute all of these things, absolutely. And people pick different routes, whether it be play to earn, whether it be in-game assets on chain. There are a lot of different ways you can build Web3 games. And right now, what are some of the drawbacks we've seen in some of these games? And what are we doing about fixing some of these flaws?
I think I'll start with how, a very easy one at first is like creating a wallet. I think the aspect and concept of a wallet is very difficult for people in Web 2 to get into. And it's like, why do I have to sign transactions? Why do I need to connect to this network? And that part is definitely a really big obstacle for a lot of people. But another thing is like with transactions and the user experience of the games themselves is what do you want, what's important to sign, like to confirm transactions? What do you do it for? And so us at DeFi Kingdoms, we actually created and released our combat testing grounds. And we actually moved that off-chain because you don't want to have to sign a transaction every time you shoot an arrow or every time you kill an enemy. You don't want to have to confirm a transaction every time. But we have, so that's off-chain. And then, but another part of our gameplay is something called questing. And so when you start a quest, you confirm a transaction, and when you complete a quest, it is another transaction. But we thought that was a really important part of the user experience to include that, blockchain technology. And so that's kind of where we get into the Web3 aspect of that. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think the onboarding users is the difficult part, not only in Web3 gaming, but also globally in Web3 apps. You have to create an address and sign in MetaMask, and you have to buy, in most of the cases, native token to interact with. And this is really a big barrier for a lot of users. Even myself, when I started to learn Solidity, and I participated in hackathons, I was already interacting with the blockchain like 5 months, and I didn't dare still to put my credit card to buy some native token, because I was always thinking, ooh, then any gasless experience that we can offer our users, although they have to create the wallet, I think it will be a major step forward in gaining adoption.
So as custodial wallet infrastructure, I'm very glad to not have to been answering that question first, because I don't want to just shill the idea. But yes, 100%. I think that what we'll see is, if the game's leading with wallets, and I'm not saying that you can't lead with wallets, but games leading as a requirement, leading with wallets, and you need to hook up your MetaMask, you have to write down private keys at some point to play the game. That will be a struggle versus having kind of, like I said, that broad appeal, that hybrid user flow where people can show up and just start playing the game and perhaps have a custodial wallet built for them, that either one, totally optional. But if you're leading with wallets as a requirement, you might see, I think user acquisition will become very important in Web3 gaming very quickly. And if you have a user flow that's full of friction, your cost of acquiring users might be $500, which is just untenable. So I think games that want to, and this is the other thing also, is that a lot of studios have to decide at a certain point, and this is more true in like 2022, but had to decide, do I want to be a gamified DeFi? Not to use that word, you know what I mean. Do I want to be like, wolf.game, or do I want to be a game and a fun game? And making that choice, from the top down and kind of building the right direction is important. Because you can be that. You can be, DeFi if you want to be. And again, nothing to do with DeFi kingdoms, but yeah.
Absolutely. So shifting away from the technology and just how people are interacting with these platforms and target audience, people talk about how current metaverses and gamified virtual experiences are made for kids. And this is the next generation that we're going to be able to onboard to Web3, so it's important to focus on the little ones in order to help them get accustomed to interacting with a lot of these different technologies. So in your opinion, who is the real target audience for Web3 gaming, and how does that factor into building out the user experience of a lot of these games?
Yeah, in my case, I think that the target audience is not the kids. I think it has to be the grown-ups. If you think in a game like Abagochi, which is very simple, actually all of the concepts behind the game, staking, borrowing, lending, are quite advanced for users. Then I think that the uniqueness of the blockchain that allows to have all of your in-game actions with link to value, that is something that is not for the kids, it's for the grown-ups.
Yeah, the whole idea of a metaverse, being the whole VR Facebook experience, right? I think that's fairly irrelevant to this conversation, but I totally agree. The target audience is just going to be, gamers. And then further on like the kids thing, this is just like a theory I have. We're going to see the average age of esports players continue to go up. In general, take another step back. I think we're only like 60% into our society digesting the internet. The same way it took like 150 years for people to understand what the printing press was. So bring that back down to gaming. When it comes to actual gameplay, if you've been to a gym, you've seen like old men playing basketball, and there's a term called old man ball. And they don't need to be the fastest in the gym to be good. They can kind of they know where to position themselves on the court, and they can just like be at the right place at the right time because they've been doing it for 50 years, and they have amazing pattern recognition. So scale that back to gaming. You don't need to have that extra tenth of a second that a young person would have to be good at esports. It's really about knowing where you are, where you need to be, and what to expect. So, extrapolate that out now 30 years, you're going to see like 50, 60-year-old esports players because they've been doing it for so long. They've been studying a student of the game. Why wouldn't they be in like that top tier? Maybe not always the championship level, but in certainly on the pro circuit. So is it for kids? Absolutely not. And also, I'm ranting now, but also, the term metaverse, I think is just a kind of a more like the next generation of like what it means to be online or have like a part of your life be digital. World of Warcraft was the metaverse. Twitter is the metaverse. It's like meaningful things happening online. And so, what blockchain does is it gives us the ability to have kind of like that next level, more tangible like digital ownership. So now putting real value stacked on top of this digital world that we can kind of more concretely own. So this is just all the evolution of what it means to be online.
Yeah, I think what we haven't seen yet is like a MetaMask wallet for kids. If we think about it, it's like, what if there is one and like you will need like parental controls and things like that? And we do currently have that for like the App Store or for like credit cards and things like that and payments. There are parental controls. Maybe at one point when it becomes more widespread, we might be seeing that. But yeah, I actually do. It's pretty interesting because, like you were saying, how we may see like much older gamers as we all grow older, and I think that Web3 concepts are very friendly for all ages. And I think that when, like for younger people, their brains are so elastic, they'll definitely learn everything so quickly. But I think that even just older generations are just equally, they can totally get it. And the thing with gamifying, like GameFi and gamifying things, it simplifies a lot of complicated Web3 content for everybody so they can understand it a lot better. So I think that's really important.
Totally, I absolutely agree with that. So shifting away from talking about the metaverse, because that's not why we're here, Web3 games have different degrees of decentralization and implementation of blockchain technologies. So what are some of the benefits of a hybrid Web2/Web3 game, and how does that factor into onboarding users?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, in blockchain gaming, the user experience has to be the first principle, design principle. And having digital ownership of assets is a good user experience. Having to throttle your game because you want to store every step of your character on the blockchain is actually not a good experience. Therefore, moving forward, I think a hybrid solution between Web3 and Web2 is the way forward, because if you have a decentralized part where you can always store your digital assets, but you have a centralized part that can go down, but it doesn't matter, you can play tomorrow, but still you have the ownership for your assets. And that's why I think that the hybrid is the way forward.
Yeah, I think currently until like tokens and like everything is widespread, we will always have the Web2, Web3 hybrid just to gently introduce Web3 to the masses. But yeah, that's what I
Yeah, for the hybrid approach is like my favorite approach. A lot of games come to me and they want to do just that. If I was building a game myself, I would do a hybrid approach where you can use tools like a Stardust to have all these Web2 users not even know they're on chain, but then you as the studio get to boast that amount of volume on chain, make it easy for all your users. This is kind of what, in my mind, is what I call like the funnel. So like you're using a Stardust or something like it to kind of capture all these people, and like some will churn out, but like some will slowly get to intimate with your IP and like the game loop and be excited. And at the end, what I would do is have that hybrid approach. So at the bottom of that funnel is the Web3 native crowd, and you get to have like that MetaMask pop-up, and it's like full-blown like Web3, which is fine, because what you have then is you can cut Stardust out or something like it of the process. You have that direct-to-consumer relationship, a muscle that you will always strengthen as we move forward and forward into blockchain. And that means that like there's a lot of really, really cool things you can do once you have someone who has their own MetaMask holding your own token, a contract that you are in control of. That is a very powerful relationship when you get into like the world of Bored Apes, right? Like they have an amazing amount of, like they can do whatever they want right now with those users. They could set up a party in Dubai and people would show up because that's a really, really powerful relationship for really well-known IP. But meanwhile, how do you get them through that funnel? The other cool thing about the funnel concept, is that you get to have a where were you moment with the masses. Someone can say, I was learning about blockchain for the first time inside of, what was it? Oh yeah, the DeFi kingdoms. Like that's where I figured out what blockchain was. You know what I mean? That's a really powerful moment to capture. Like that, having that your IP be associated with them for forever for this like world-changing technology is really, really cool. And if you do a good job of putting them through that funnel and they have fun and they learn something, why would they hate you for it? That's the idea of having frictionless, like informative, onboarding.
Absolutely. So frictionless onboarding, somewhat of a buzzword, but super important. Also another buzzword that we talk about a lot is interoperability. And this is a key problem when it comes to building these Web3 gamified experiences. So how do you tailor your games to support interoperability? What does it look like? And obviously there's this greater goal of, an entirely interoperable ecosystem, but obviously we're not there. So, how do these technologies, what do they look like and how will they benefit the gaming ecosystem?
I am so glad you called that a buzzword. I've been hearing.
It's true. I mean, I call it what it is.
Yeah, and but us at DeFi Kingdoms, like before the buzzword is just everywhere, we were thinking a lot and brainstorming on how to just make sure that there's interoperability in DeFi Kingdoms, and especially when we created our DFK subnet, that kind of increased that need even more, because with the subnet, you have your very own blockchain, and other people can build on it. And initially we had our DFK chain. It was like closed for developers, but we are pushing really hard to make sure that we can like whitelist people or just eventually have it fully open for anybody to come and build. And currently we have like partnerships and other games. We have an area in our game called the castle. It's like somewhere you click on the map, and in the castle you can click on an NPC, and there we list like our partners and if they have any games there. And so it's kind of like a one-stop shop of anything related to DeFi kingdoms that is part of the whole ecosystem. And so that kind of user experience is very simple, and it's really easy for anybody to understand. So
yeah, I will put a crazy idea about interoperability. Imagine in the DeFi world, we have the ERC4626, which is a standard vault that you can use with different protocols. Imagine that we create a standard ERC for characters of gaming, and then the things that you won in one game, you can bring to other chains, to other games. Of course, if we talk about set run, you own a horse NFT. It's not the same as a warrior NFT, but maybe it's a good thing to have some similar traits that allow you to bring from one game to other some levels on XP points that you have already won. That would be one kind of interoperability that I would love to see on the Web3 gaming.
Yeah, so the way I would phrase, what I was going to say, how I would phrase that is, we're not going to bring the actual horse into the game, right? We're not going to go, okay, I've got this horse in 2 games now, same everything, because then you get into IP, and just also from a game development process, it's like not going to happen. So kind of doing away with that, just what's proof of ownership interoperability? Can I say that I own this in one game and then have another game recognize that I own it and perhaps give me some kind of utility or functionality in that other game? That's something that like we can do right now, and it's a much more realistic kind of form of interoperability that we'll see. I think a lot more cool stuff will come, but the other cool thing, again, rant sidebar here, but like a fun idea of kind of that proof of ownership interoperability in the inverse, like the dark side of it, could be kind of vampire attacks. So like if Apex Legends and Fortnite are both Web3, and there's a very, very like ultra rare NFT that has been given to the best players or streamers or something that's very like high value, and then Apex Legends says, okay, if you have this Fortnite NFT, we're going to give you something equally or more rare, crazy in our game. And maybe only a couple of people will come and start playing Fortnite or Apex Legends and make that switch. But if you can target the wallet and say, I know what type of user, because of the achievement or because of the whatever reason you have that NFT, you can go after those people. So the whole proof of ownership opens up a very like transparent world of interoperability.
Absolutely. So switching over, we were talking about onboarding a little bit earlier, but distribution is another concept I want to discuss. How do we work towards not only onboarding, or I guess first distributing and then onboarding users to Web3 games? How do we solve these two obstacles in the space and help people, actually get to the point of enjoying this user experience? I mean, certainly it's a part of the user experience, being able to sign up and play, but.
For distribution, at least for us, people come to me sometimes and they say, oh, how do we get around Apple? And I tell them I'm the wrong person to talk to. We're here to Apple takes a 30% cut because they're like the #1 distribution platform. So for game studios, you can make a really big bet on some other distribution platform or some other mechanic, but it might be not the right choice in time for your game now, because there's a huge benefit to using Apple in a general sense. So Epic is making a really good name for themselves in Web3. Steam. There's lots of comments you can make about these distribution platforms, but in general, I think for right now, it's best to kind of just play ball, and that's what we're doing, where we can kind of make it Apple. There's no interruption of that, and it's all very fuzzy though. So we could talk for a whole panel on just Apple's policies alone. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Onboarding.
Oh, onboarding. Custodial wallets. Mic drop. Next.
Nice. I do want to focus on the onboarding, actually, because with distribution, I think there's actually a lot of platforms out there that will list multiple games from different chains. those are really exciting. We'll see how those go. But for onboarding, I think it's really important for a lot of Web3 games to assume that your game will be the very first exposure that a person would have to Web3 in general. So, and so we have to shepherd these people into the wallet creation and security, crypto security and crypto basics. Like what even is, we need to have our games teaching these new users what is an NFT, what is an ERC20 token, and all of this. So that's definitely something we haven't really seen, this central area where everybody can learn about crypto and Web3, but when it comes to gaming, it's so niche and so specific that I think every game should be able to teach that to their new users.
Yeah, I completely agree. Onboarding probably is the main issue for distribution, but having another perspective as a gamer, how a game would be distributed to me. I would be an early adopter if I'm promised with some rewards for being early adopter, but maybe not too much, because if not, other people, they would like to come later. Then I would like that the Web3 is completely hide away from me. I would like to have the same experience as when I interact with a Web2 game, and probably that are the main points that how a platform should distribute the game to me.
Absolutely. So in the next several months, years, as we continue to build out Web3 gaming, where is this user experience going? What's this ultimate goal that we're working towards? What's the perfect scenario that we might see down the line, or that we're building at least?
Yeah, I would say that for sure, seamless onboarding experience and the ability to interact between different protocols. If you think in the game Planet IX, that you can rent per second using Superfluid, and only per seconds you can rent some assets and then give back to the owner. This kind of experience are experience that only the Web3 can offer to the games. And then I think in this direction, hybrid solutions with layer 2 or Avalanche subnets like Kingdom, DeFi Kingdom, I think that is how the Web3 gaming landscape will be in the future.
Yeah, I see how currently at Web 2 and just like the video games we know and love, we spend hundreds and hundreds of hours building our characters, trying to get the best armor and all of this. And I think just the ideal is being able to truly see and attach value to it, and to, it can change lives, it can help people. And rather than game studios getting richer and richer, it's the individual players that we're all looking out for, and it's the players themselves who are contributing to the games and to the ecosystem and the journey of the whole game in itself.
Yeah, there's so many cool things, and it's so much fun to hype up what it'll look like soon. But something I like to temper studios' expectations with, just in general, is to not start chasing cars. The Web3 space moves so fast, and there's always a new shiny object to chase. And studios have a very simple job, and it's to build a good game. Everything else is a derivative of how fun the game is. The value of the human hour, attention span, that is where the game derives its value from. All the other stuff is just an add-on and a derivative. And you also have to trust that there are, all the infrastructure and tooling is being built right now alongside you. And you don't need to build it all. You need to make sure that you have a good game and have your eyes looking forward to what, eventually it'll look like. But you need to go and make a good game now. And that's also just a selfish thing. You need to survive. We're in a down market. If you lean too heavily, what's the word? Not decollateralize. Your assets, investing. This is a very Web3 funny thing to have. I forgot the word. Was it? No. No, just in general, go make a good game, and the rest will come very, very easily. And then also, one thing, you kind of mentioned this a second ago, UGC, that is something that is very powerful for the future. So you don't need to go and make like an insanely, if you build UGC tooling and that's like your whole product, you'll have a hard time because people need a reason to be there in the first place. You need to go make a good product. Everything comes from having a good product. Minecraft and like Roblox had great products, and then they built UGC, and now they're massive. Same with Fortnite. They're building UGC, now they're going to go to that next level. So you need to have an idea of what UGC will look like for relevant, game modes. But when you combine provable ownership and provable authorship of UGC with peer-to-peer value transfer systems, these are all the rails I'm talking about. The network effects will be very, very big, and it might not be it might be 8 years until we really feel this generation 2, generation 3 of Web3 games. But for now, the focus is make your first game, get it out there. You're already early, just make a great game and finish strong with that one title. Don't get too distracted by all the shiny things.
Absolutely. So really quickly, we only have about a minute left. If there's one obstacle we need to focus on solving right now in order to help bolster these user experiences and making actually enjoyable Web3 games, what is it? What's that one thing that we need to focus on first?
I think for sure onboarding, but specifically in my case, or probably in all of us here that we work in the Web3 space, we would like to have more time actually to game, because we don't have any spare time with our jobs in the Web3 space.
Totally.
Yeah, and I said it a couple times, but custodial wallets and finding a way to like onboard users while being Web3 but being a fun Web2 game. You could also paraphrase that as finding a way to search for Andy at Stardust on Twitter and DMing him so he can hook you up.
Yeah, onboarding, education, because a gamer who knows more about crypto and Web3 will be a better Web3 gamer.
Absolutely. All right, thank you guys so much. Great talking with you, and stick around for the rest of the day of content. Woo.
Thank you, Cam.
Thank you.